Guys, we're coming to you live with a very special guest, ring announcer, Thomas Treiber.
Joseph, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
W.A.W presents Big Time Boxing USA on WaraWeek Radio.
Guys, welcome. Happy Wednesday to all of you guys. And look, I'll say this, guys. My very special guest. Boy, I tell you what, he's still on British time, so we need to make it snappy. We've got him for about only 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm referring to the incomparable Thomas Treiber. Thomas, how art thou, brother?
I am fantastic, Joe. I thank you very much for having me. And yes, I apologize. I'm still on UK time. I was just in the UK for 2 weeks. And even before that, I was in Saudi Arabia. So my body clock is on foreign time right now. That's for sure.
Well, I tell you what, we'll try to get to everyone's questions, but guys, get your questions ready for Thomas Double T Treiber. Guys, well, look. Let's just say, okay, brother, look, we know that bad decisions, well, I shouldn't say bad, but questionable, controversial decisions happen everywhere. And exactly the same with refereeing, being a third man in the ring. It's not easy. You were the ring announcer for Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. And everyone wants to know, what were your thoughts on the stoppage, my brother? Because you had the best seat in the house.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great fight. You know, first of all, great crowd. O2 Arena, London, England, Queensberry, and, Frank Warren, they delivered a great show. Great atmosphere. So I was really, really excited for this main event. Of course, so much was on the line with the potential fight with Usyk, with the winner of that fight. So definitely, all the stakes were there. It was a heavyweight fight, albeit a interim world title. It was a world title fight as well. So, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. My initial reaction, honestly, ringside, was that it was a, respectable stoppage. It didn't look, from my advantage point, that Parker was throwing anything back. And, when someone throws 30, 40 unanswered punches and you look hurt, there's a good chance a referee is going to step in. And so after I did the decision, that's when I can hear everybody saying, oh, it was, too early. It was a premature stoppage. And it kind of made me start to really lean towards that, thinking, I wouldn't have minded another minute or so. And as I watched the footage back and watched the replay, in all honesty, I would have liked to have seen the fight continue for, maybe another minute or so. But it is what it is, Joe. I mean, what can we do? You know, I know that Howard Foster has a bit of a reputation of stopping fights early. I don't think that helped either. I think that kind of, I think that kind of put a little more of a microscope, if you will, on the stoppage because of Howard's, you know, reputation with some early stoppages. But, you know, again, as I watched it over again, I did feel like I wish there was a little bit more time that Parker would have had, but I almost can't argue it either because he wasn't throwing back, and Fabio was just, you know, I know that they weren't all landing, but he was throwing a lot of unanswered punches.
Yeah, you know what? Look, guys, in the heavyweight division, and we know this from the British board, as well as Nevada State Athletic Commission, as well as California and Texas, that the referees have been told to really monitor these things. Once again, guys, the commissions are there to not only sanction the bouts, make sure the fights get paid, fighters get paid, but most importantly, protect all fighters involved. And you know as well as I do, Thomas, they have become very, for liability purposes, last thing they want to do is get sued by someone who gets hurt. And once again, very, very famous Hall of Fame trainer and fighter, Buddy McGirt, he once told me, you know what, brother? Because I once asked him, because he became under fire about 15 years ago for pulling the trigger too quickly on some of his fighters. And he said, you know what, man, I love these guys. And I would much rather be a minute too early than a second too late.
Oh, that's a really good line.
I would never be able to live with myself. So, guys, there it is. Oh, and we've got the hater, Hawker Mustang. Good to see you, man. Thank you for supporting Double T at the time. He says, it was a horrible stoppage. And he goes, Parker was just about to take over in round number 12. Well, it may have helped not have a stoppage if he had thrown a damn punch in the 11th round.
Yeah, I mean, I
didn't do anything.
Joe, I see both sides of the coin. And
Yep.
You know, I feel the frustration of the fans, and I've had kind of mixed emotions about the stoppage myself.
Yep.
You know, I like to always know that there was a decisive winner, and there was part of me that was left going, oh man, what would have happened if maybe Howard didn't stop it at that point of the fight? But again, like you just said, Joe, you know, when somebody throws that many punches and they get unanswered, you know, you're putting yourself in jeopardy of getting the fight stopped if you're the fighter not throwing back.
That's it, guys. And once again, this isn't just happening with Howard Foster. You can pick on him all you want, but it's happening all over the place. Look at Rolly Romero versus Ismael Barroso. Tony Weeks. Guys, they have a quick trigger finger, and they're taught to do that now because they want to protect the fighters. Now, you may not like it. I sure as heck don't like it, but it's the life we live in today with the sport of boxing. We're never, like, it's going to be very rare to see, you know, rock'em sock'em robots these days. Those fights are very few and far in between. And it's definitely not going to happen in the heavyweight division, guys. It's very dangerous. And that's what I'm going to say about, oh, look at this. Hawker says, Parker was doing the rope-a-dope just like Muhammad Ali. Okay. Now, once again, that's a very good point because, Thomas, would any commission, including the British Board of Control, would they actually allow Muhammad Ali to take that much punishment these days?
It's a different game now, you know, than it was years ago. Of course, there was 15 rounds of boxing back in the day. I mean, my gosh, we've seen footage of
same-day weigh-ins. And, you know, who could forget when Larry Holmes fought Muhammad Ali and just, I hate to say it, but really beat him to a pulp for, you know, what was it? Did it go the distance? I think it went the distance, 15 rounds. I mean,
or it was stopped. I'm not sure. I'm
Oh,
trying to
no.
remember.
Muhammad Ali ended up stopping George Foreman when he ran out of gas, beating the snot out of Muhammad Ali. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing these rules change today. Because look at the state Muhammad Ali was in the last 20 years of his life with Parkinson's.
Yeah. It's a tough one, you know.
The
I mean,
damage
as a
is
fight,
undeniable, guys. And I know we're a bunch of bloodthirsty ghouls, but once again, the sanction organizations and the Board of Control, the British Board of Control, they're there to protect the fighters first and foremost. And it's something that we're going to have to live with, guys. But guys, we're shifting gears. Double T. Fantastic job this past weekend in Manchester. And oh boy,
thank you.
what does Zach Parker have to do to get a break, my friend?
Were you my goodness
when you read the judge's verdict?
Well, you know, I mean, I thought that Parker was, you know, winning the fight. I really did not think that there was much doubt. I thought he won comfortably by perhaps, you know, at least 3-4 rounds. I really did not have much doubt that Zach had pulled it off. And when I got into the ring and I was watching the scores being tallied up by the board members and the WBA representative, I could see them writing Buatsi at the bottom of the scores, and I'm going, wait a minute, this is going to Buatsi. And you know, I mean, it was I was a little surprised. I mean, I honestly thought that Parker pulled it off. I felt bad for him. I thought he made a very good showing, but apparently the judges were looking for something else. Now I know that Parker went down a few times. He kept falling to his knees, Joe, and I don't know if that's something that kind of swayed the judges. And then Parker was also kind of fighting on the defense, moving back quite a bit. So maybe because Buatsi was coming forward, they were leaning towards Buatsi. But the commentators, Darren Barker, Barry Jones, Adam Smith, they all thought that Parker had won the fight. And I know by the response on social media, they thought Parker won the fight, the majority of the fight fans as well.
Yep. And there it is, guys. And there it is. Okay, Hawker. And I'm referring to our dear friend Hawker Mustang in the chat. Brother, we know you don't agree with the Joseph Parker stoppage. We know you were rooting for him. Do you think maybe that's affecting your view of that stoppage? The fact that you probably lost money on that fight. Get over it. And we've moved on. We moved on, my brother.
Let it go, man. Let it go.
Let it go, brother. Life goes on, man. We see some more fights this weekend. And guys, we're going to talk about the big fights on the 22nd. But guys, it's time to play with Double T, Thomas Treiber.
Hey, we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. It's time for Fact or Fiction.
Thank you, Floyd. We appreciate you lending us your voice for the introduction for this segment. And number one, Fact or Fiction, brother. Triple D, Daniel Dubois making a big mistake, taking on Frank Sanchez in an IBF eliminator. Set for purse bid November 13th. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. I think that, you know, Daniel, he wants to get right back into a world title position. And you know, this is an opportunity. He's still very, very young. I don't think people realize that Daniel Dubois is, you know, he's only 27, 28 years old. And look at all the fights he's had. Look at all the experience he has had. And even though he, you know, came up short against Alexander Usyk, I mean, there's no shame in losing against Alexander Usyk. So I think this is a great step for Daniel. He's, you know, been staying in shape and continuing to train, and you know, he's a true professional, and I think that's a good move.
And there it is. So what say you, fight fans? Thomas Treiber says it's fiction. He likes the fight, but even after coming off a stoppage loss, he thinks jumping right back into the lion's den against another southpaw, Frank Sanchez, is a good move, positioning himself to fight and compete for another world title. Guys, once again, we'll find out how this plays out, but purse bid is set for November 13th. Number 2, Double T. Fact or fiction, brother? Canelo Alvarez getting a new head trainer is a smart move. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to go with fact. I think, Canelo needs a change in some way. I really think that based on his last couple of performances, I don't think it would hurt him to look elsewhere, maybe get some new flavor in his training camp, and maybe it'll, spark something that he's been missing in some of his recent fights. So I can't argue that idea.
Now, once again, it's rumored that he has sacked Eddie Reynoso as his head trainer and is currently searching for a new one. Would it make the prospect of a rematch with Terrence Crawford more interesting if he's working with another different head trainer?
I mean, I think it makes it a little more interesting because would we be seeing a different Canelo now that he's got a new trainer? Again, I think that, he was unsuccessful in his last fight. I did not care for the way he looked when he fought William School. I feel like some of the fire, is just not there. And I don't know if maybe it's stemming from his training camp. And perhaps if that is true, that he's moving away from working with Eddie, maybe this is a move he needs to make. I mean, he's only got a handful of fights left, from what I understand. I don't think he plans on fighting, several more times down the road. So I don't think it would hurt for him to try a different trainer.
I wholeheartedly agree, brother. I think it's a very smart business move. And I think it makes the prospect of a rematch a lot more interesting because let's face it, as decisively as Terrence Crawford beat him the first time, I don't really care to see a rematch. And I definitely wouldn't make a case for him being deserving of one. But let's be honest, it's the biggest payday that's available to him in and around 168. Because let's be honest, Thomas, who else is he going to fight at 168?
Well, I know that there's, a few fighters out there that are really hoping to maybe get a stab at Canelo. One would be a Queensberry fighter, Hamza Shiraz, who, had the big win in New York at the Ring show against Edgar Berlanga.
Oh boy, he looked amazing against Hamburger Lang. I'm sorry, Edgar Berlanga. My apologies, brother. I forgot that we weren't talking off camera, brother.
Well,
My apologies, man.
We all have a slip of the tongue here and there.
Chihuahua. Never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I think that would be a big fight, and they could do it in the UK. The type of crowds that they draw in the UK, and that would certainly be a stadium fight for Canelo to fight Hamza Shiraz. So, I mean, there are some attractive fights out there besides the rematch for Canelo, but getting back to the trainer situation, I think it would be maybe a breath of fresh air. I think maybe it's something that Canelo would want to experiment with at this stage of his career if he's feeling like things are stagnant with his current training situation. Maybe he needs someone with new ideas, new methods.
Well, who knows? But I think they're looking at a business perspective because I don't think Eddie Reynoso, being his manager, he's still going to manage the training camp. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think this is merely to attract a rematch, in my opinion. And our brother Taika TV says, well, he might be too old for that. Honestly, you might have a point, Tycho.
Well,
We'll have to
Tycho,
wait.
as they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right?
There it is. There it is. We'll see,
You know,
guys. We'll see what the future holds for Canelo. But I'll be
good point.
honest. Honestly, I'd much rather see him fight Jake Paul than Edgar Hamburger Langa. I mean, Berlanga. I would much rather see it. Now, what say you about a potential fight between Canelo and Jake Paul on Netflix? Does that have legs? Do you think that's going to become a reality in 2026?
I mean, look, you never say never in the sport of boxing. Anything is possible, but I would lean towards not, because, first of all, Canelo is very secure financially. He's not looking for just that big. I mean, of course, he always expects and gets a big payday, but he's not desperate for a payday. And I don't know if that's just, with Canelo's pride and his personality. I just don't think I can see that in the very near future. That's not to say maybe in a few years that couldn't happen, something of that nature, but I see him taking on serious opposition in his final fights.
Yeah. We've got a question right now from our brother Anthony Manzano. Good to see you, my friend. He says, Joe and Thomas, what about the whole issue with Jake pulling out of the situation with Netflix and the tank fight? You really think Netflix is ever going to work with Jake after that?
Well, I mean, it really wasn't, from my understanding of the situation. It's more of a Gervonta Davis thing that came up that caused the issue. It wasn't stemming from the Jake Paul camp. Of course, they knew of his history, and this didn't completely blindside all of us. But I don't know if that would actually hurt Jake Paul in this situation, being that it wasn't him that caused the cancellation.
Yep, that's it. And from what I've been told, they're going to announce, and they've just approved Nate Diaz to be his next opponent for a date coming in December around Christmas time.
A rematch.
Yep, a rematch with Nate Diaz.
Well, I was there. I did the undercard in Dallas, American Airlines Arena, when he fought Nate Diaz. I was about maybe.
That was on pay-per-view. That's right.
Yeah. I did the undercard. Jimmy Lennon did the main event fight on that one. But great crowd. The Texas fans
sold out.
I'm a bit surprised by that news. I wouldn't have thought that.
Home of the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Well, look, Thomas. I mean, the fight was very sloppy, but was very entertaining to a lot of casual and mainstream fans. Obviously, they felt that it was competitive enough to where they can throw in Nate Diaz. Do you see that fight being competitive?
I mean, if the first one was, and maybe Nate learned from that first fight, maybe he's been continuing to train and work on his boxing skills. I mean, Nate Diaz is a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal fighter. So, he had a bit of a different style with the way he fought that fight. It wasn't your typical boxer type of stance or the way he threw his punches. But with that said, like you said, it was a competitive fight. So that'll be interesting. That's the first I'm hearing of this news.
Guys, we have a couple more to go. Well, at least a handful. And we're running out of time with Double T. Let's move to number 3. Fact or fiction, brother? David Benavidez will get roughed up and ultimately stopped by the underdog, Anthony Yard, on November 22nd. Fact or fiction?
Ooh, well, being that I work for Frank Warren in Queensberry, I'm going to be a little bit partial. But look,
guy.
Look, Anthony Yard has fought for 2 world title fights, and he has had the toughest opponents. I mean, think about this. His first title fight was against Sergey Kovalev. His second world title fight was against Artur Beterbiev.
Wow.
Now he's fighting David Benavidez. I mean, could this guy have picked 3 tougher opponents to fight for a world title? And, you know, Anthony's a great athlete. He's a great athlete, and he can throw. So, you know, you can't rule out the possibility of him making this a very physical fight. But, you know, David Benavidez is a very special fighter. And, you know, I'm not a betting man, but, you know, it would be really hard to bet against David Benavidez based on, you know, what we've seen so far in his career. So I'm going to go with fiction on that one.
Well, I tell you what, though, I like your reasoning, man. And look, I'll say this, guys. If you think that hard leather isn't going to fly in the main event on November 22nd.
Oh, no, it will.
Guys, look, even though he lost to Kovalev and he lost to Beterbiev, he hurt both fighters during the fights. During both fights, he hurt both men. And he was a live dog, well, until he wasn't. But hey, when you're dealing with big punchers like that and you're dealing with that kind of experience, yeah, look, I'll say this. David Benavidez may win this fight, but he's going to get hit. And I want to see how he reacts getting hit by the very durable and tough Anthony Yarde on November 22nd. Guys, this main event is straight fire. Look forward to everything.
I'm very excited about that main event.
This is a great fight card. We're moving on, guys. Number 4, speaking of that same fight card, Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason will steal the show on November 22nd. Fact or fiction, Thomas?
Well, again, you're putting me in a strange position because Sam Noakes is a Queensberry fighter. But, you know, all joking aside, I've done several of his fights, and I've been very, very impressed with Sam Noakes. And I think that this could very well be his coming out party. I think a lot of people are possibly going to know the name Sam Noakes after November 22nd. He's a very special fighter. But I know, again, you know, styles make fights, and you never know sometimes until you see someone in there with a true world-class fighter. And Abdullah Mason has shown that he is a world-class fighter. So I'm expecting fireworks with this fight. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth action. You know, Sam Noakes is out to make a statement. He's from England. He really wants to show the world what he's made of. This will be the biggest fight of his career thus far. So, you know, I would not bet against Sam Noakes really making a strong performance. So I'm going to go with fact on this one.
Woo! I love it. I love it, guys. And once again, guys, keep the comments coming, guys. And Anthony Manzano says, that's fiction. David has way too much of a chin to get stopped. Most likely it goes to the cards before David just gives up. David, which David? They're both. Oh, I'm sorry. David Benavidez getting stopped? He's never been hit this hard. We'll see, guys. Eric Gomez, welcome to the show, sir, and thanks for supporting Double T on this day. Says Yarde got that dog.
Amen.
Uh-oh. Look, this is high praise here. My brother Jump Tube, thank you for supporting Thomas on this day. He says special edition of Heron's Pit. Look, I could never adopt the moniker of Piper's Pit, guys. I could never do that. And look, wasn't it always fascinating, Double T? Didn't you love it when someone actually called his kilt a skirt?
Oh yeah, that was classic. I'm just hoping that while I'm on this edition of Heron's Pit, I don't get hit with a coconut.
Woo! I tell you what, man, I love me some Roddy Piper. He was funny, and he actually could throw hands. That's one thing I loved about watching Roddy Piper fight.
No, you know what? And the
Box a
great
little bit.
thing, Joe, just regarding Piper's Pit and Roddy Piper, they didn't have writers back in the day like the WWE has now. These guys were so talented at doing things off the cuff. I mean, of course, they'd have certain things that they wanted to touch on, but it just goes to show how incredibly talented guys like Roddy Piper were, because they didn't have writers. These things weren't scripted. So
That's great stuff.
it really is. Whenever I watch old footage, I'm always fascinated at how good these guys were behind the mic.
Well, it's a good thing that at the time, Jesse the Body Ventura with the Body Shop wasn't the conspiracy theorist that he is now. You imagine how strange that would have been back in the day?
Well, McMahon,
oh gosh, please stop, dude.
Well, I know who really blew up the Hindenburg.
And I'm like, oh gosh, please stop, Jesse. But anyway, guys, God bless all of them. God rest his soul, the great Roddy Piper, and yeah, Jesse the Body, man. It's man, I hope your brain health is a little bit better in the future. But I will say this, Hawker Mustang, speaking of brain health, you need to get over this, son. And he said, Dave Benavidez should beat Yard. Should be a good one, though. I hope the referee doesn't ruin it. And, dude, let it go, man. Let it go, brother. It's okay.
Quit picking on Hawk. Hey, look, I totally get, I totally understand Hawk's frustration. I really do. I mean, no one ever wants to see, you never want to see a fight end with still a question mark of, did that guy really win the fight? Should he have won that fight? We like those decisive victories, but that's what's always made boxing controversial as well and interesting at the same time is when things like that happen. But you never want to see a guy who is a deserved winner not get the victory.
Yeah, well, even though he was leading on the scorecards, guys, he got knocked out. It happens in the heavyweight division. If he didn't want the fight to get stopped, he should have let his hands go. Yeah, and once again, Howard Foster's defense, he told him, show me something. Show me something. He told him that twice. Go back and watch, guys. So, Tyco TV, he says, whose coming out party will this be? Sam Noakes or Abdullah Mason?
Well, Tyco, like I said a few moments ago, several of Sam Noakes' fights, and his nickname is Midge, Sam Midge Noakes, and I'll be ring announcing this fight in Saudi Arabia, so I'm very excited to be part of this event with all these great fights, and I mean it could very well be Sam Noakes who wins the fight and makes a big statement. I've talked to him personally. He's very excited for this opportunity. He wants to show the world that he belongs in the highest class.
Oh man, I can't wait, guys. It can't look. November 22nd can't come soon enough. And JumpTube says, I like the odds Yard is getting plus 600. Really, it's plus 600.
Interesting.
Now, you know what? That's a little too much to pass up, man. I'm going to have to put some long green down on Anthony Yard. That's a little too much. Anthony Mazan says, Double T, off topic a little bit. Who do you think the future of the sport for announcing is going to be once you retire? Because in my honest opinion, you are the voice of my generation for boxing.
Oh, wow, Anthony. Thank you very, very much for those kind words. I just take it day by day, and I really don't pay, too close attention to, the other ring announcers. I'm so busy with the events I'm working. Of course, the great Michael Buffer, and ladies and gentlemen, introducing Jimmy Lennon. Of course,
that's
Jimmy
crazy, brother. Holy cow. Dude, he just slipped right into Jimmy Lennon Jr. just like that. I've told you before, man, but I honestly, I've never heard, and I do impressions, but I've never heard anyone do Jimmy Lennon Jr. that exactly. Like
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you as we welcome you to a great night of boxing action live from the MGM Grand here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Woo! That's amazing, brother. That is crazy.
But you know what, Anthony? You know, there's always going to be someone there to fill your shoes. There's always going to be, you know, new talent out there. And, you know, so I'm just thankful that right now I'm getting a lot of, you know, steady work. I'm being part of these great Riyadh season ring events and Queensberry DAZN shows, and I'm just thrilled to be in the position I'm in. But you know, everyone's last day comes at some point. But I'm trying not to think about that right now. I'm trying to just enjoy the moment and these wonderful opportunities. But I'm sure there'll be a hungry lion out there to take my spot someday.
Well, I tell you what, that's not coming for any time soon. We believe you've still got another 20 years left in you, brother. How's that?
From your voice, from your mouth to God's ears, my friend.
And there it is. JumpTube says, exactly, Thomas, regarding your wrestling comment. That's one of the reasons why wrestling is unwatchable today.
Yeah, too scripted, you know? I mean, we like the off-the-cuff stuff. That's why it seemed more real, you know, back in the day. And you know, I don't keep up too much with the current product. I do like to listen to some podcast shows, and of course with social media, I'll see some highlights from Raw, SmackDown, AEW shows here and there. But I can't disagree with that comment. I think back in the day when it wasn't so scripted, it just felt more real and more natural.
There it is, guys. And Anthony says, Double T, I'll give you 3 old school wrestlers. Who do you think is better on the microphone? Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, or Stone Cold Steve Austin? I'm going to leave out Harley Race, brother.
Hey, come on.
Wow. Harley Race, I love it.
Man, yeah, I mean that first of all, Anthony, those are some great names right there. That's a really tough one because they were all very special in their own way. They all brought their own, you know, style and persona, and you know, they were all so different from each other. And you know, personally for myself, being that I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, of course, Roddy Piper and Ric Flair, those were the two to me as a wrestling fan. You know, this is, of course, before Steve Austin. You know, those were the two that I admired, you know, greatly. And then, of course, Steve Austin, you know, he you know, not only did I wrestle Steve Austin, did I mention that today? Did I? But you know, honestly, though, when I worked Steve and he was stunning Steve Austin at the time, you know, I remember being backstage at the TV taping, and he would watch from the curtain all of the matches. So all the early matches to the main event, Steve would stay at the curtain and watch the matches from backstage. And I remember seeing that. And he was a student of the game. So I was not surprised when he eventually went to the WWF, now WWE, and, you know, became Stone Cold and took his, you know, career to incredible heights. You know, I was not shocked by that because even though I had a very brief time wrestling as enhancement talent for WCW, I did get to be around them. I did get to see them. I did get to speak with them. And I could see that. I remember knowing that he took it very seriously. But wow, that's a really tough one to answer. Myself personally, just because I was such a big fan of Piper's Pit, I would just go with Roddy Piper. I just loved everything about him. He was the best heel. The people just hated Roddy Piper. And he was just so quick, you know, with his comments and everything. So my personal favorite out of the batch, no offense to Ric Flair or Steve Austin, but I just think Roddy Piper was just at a different level.
And there you have it. Thanks for the question, brother. We're running out of time, so we need to hurry up and finish this segment. Agit Kabayel, fact or fiction, Thomas? Agit Kabayel is a smart man for choosing Damian Neva instead of the big punching Albanian, Nelson Husa? Fact or fiction?
Well, I did a few of Nelson Husa's fights, and he is a big, strong man. And I'm not quite sure how the final decision was made. I caught a little bit of the press conference today, and that Damian he's a big, tall guy too. He's got some height advantage against Agit. But I think if from some of the footage I've seen of Damian, I think Nelson Husa would have been perhaps a more dangerous opponent. Bigger, stronger puncher in Nelson Husa. So I would say it's fact that he is a smart. That I think Damian is a more safe. And again, no disrespect to Damian, but I would go with fact. Joe, yourself?
You know what, brother? I completely, wholeheartedly agree. Hey, and just because I love the way you pronounce all the names, and you get some of the hardest surnames in the business to have to announce. So can you please give us the correct pronunciation for the German hard-punching heavyweight who's going to be taking on Damian Neva in January? Can you give us the correct pronunciation, sir?
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Agit Kabayel.
Woo! There it is, guys. Agit Kabayel. Guys, that was very well done. Dude, you man, you can hear everything so beautifully, even over the PA, because of how you pronounce everything, brother. How long did it take you to perfect that, brother? I'm being serious. How long did it take you to perfect that? Because that's amazing. You can hear every syllable, even over the PA.
Well, I think, I've been ring announcing for, over 3 decades. I started at 17 years of age. And, I think as just like with any job, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And, I'm always trying to improve. I never want to feel like, I can't do better. I'm always wanting to improve my style, my deliveries, my pronunciations. I appreciate the kind words, but, I think that it just comes with time. And and we've talked about this before, even off the show, Joe, sometimes as announcers like we are, I think even sometimes in our daily life, we talk a little bit like announcers because we're always wanting people to understand what we're saying. We're always wanting to say things very clearly. And especially with ring announcing, I think the magic behind it is to bring excitement to an introduction, but you want everybody to hear what you're saying clearly. I've seen some other ring announcers in the past where they're screaming and it becomes very hard to understand what they're saying because they're screaming. So I've always made a conscious effort to try and bring energy and excitement, but at the same time, you can understand every word that I say.
I don't like when someone yells at the crowd saying, well, anyway, we're not going to say anything about that. But yeah, you're truly the master of ceremonies when you host these events and are the ring announcer. You do a great job, Thomas. Boy, look, I'll say this. We've got one more, guys. One more, and it's number 6, fact or fiction, double T. Trainer Kenny Ellis is correct when he says Devin Haney's new muscle gain will hurt him on November 22nd. Fact or fiction?
Well, I was a bodybuilder, that's how I ended up even, becoming a professional wrestler. And I can certainly understand where people get the perception of if you become too bulky and too muscular, it's going to perhaps, stop you from being as agile or maybe hurt, your quickness, your speed, your movements. But, for being muscle bound to actually affect someone, you would have to put on 30, 40, 50 pounds of muscle. I don't think that whatever amount of muscle that Devin Haney has added to his frame, I don't think it's going to affect his speed. If anything, I think he's going to be stronger. So I would have to go and lean towards fiction on this one.
And there it is, guys. There it is. And that's, once again, brother, you just survived.
Hey, we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. It's time for fact or fiction.
I'll tell you what, man. Thanks for playing, Double T. And dude, can you believe this? 45 minutes have flown by, my friend.
It's hard to believe. It's always so much fun to come on here, and I really appreciate the listeners chiming in, asking questions. I really do appreciate that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we love you, Thomas, on the show, and please, you're welcome here anytime, brother. You're always, we love the stories. We love your firsthand account, being ringside at all these tremendous events. Please, before you leave, please give us a brief calendar of events coming up that you're going to be a part of.
Well, for the month of November, I'll actually be doing a show November 8th, this Saturday in San Antonio, Texas. Be at the Techport venue in San Antonio. And then Sunday, I'm getting on an airplane and I'm flying to London, England, and I will be ring announcing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the Chris Eubank Conor Benn rematch. Michael Buffer will be on hand to do the main event, but I will be handling the undercards for that rematch. I did the first one. It was such an incredible atmosphere. Of course, it turned out to be a great fight. And then, of course, to everybody's surprise, Chris Eubank Sr. made an appearance. So it was truly almost in that great ring entrance by Chris Eubank with the music with his father. I mean, it was really like something out of a movie. So very excited.
Amazing.
Very excited to be back at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium November 15th for the rematch. And then I'll be going right after that event straight to Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for November 22nd. What an incredible fight card from top to bottom. Of course, we just talked about some of the great fights on that card. So that'll be November 22nd. And then I've got a very busy December as well. The early part of my schedule in December is still being worked out. I could possibly be in Australia in early December. And then also I'll be going to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the final of the WBC Grand Prix that I've had the honor of doing. We've done 4 phases, and now this is the 5th and final phase of the WBC Grand Prix. So on the date I'm told is going to be December 20th, and there's going to be 4 fights, the 4 weight divisions, which is light, super featherweight, lightweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. And we will find out who the winner of each one of those divisions is on December 20th. That's the date I've been given. And then I'll be staying to do the event December 27th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So it's been a Christmas in Riyadh for me, my friend.
Oh, my goodness. No snow over there, brother. But I tell you what, wow, what an amazing end of the year for you. And look, let's just hope that the WBC doesn't convince Turkey Al-Sheikh or the BBBFC to allow 5 scorecards and 5 judges for the Inoue event. Chihuahua. Oh, boy. And that's all I'm going to say about that, guys. But anyway, Thomas, thank you, brother, for being on the show. We appreciate it, guys. And if you missed any part of the show, guys, go ahead and rewind now or listen to it later. It's going to be up all week, guys. On behalf of ring announcer extraordinaire Double T, Thomas Treiber, I'm Joseph Heron. You've been listening to WaraWeek Boxing. Have a great day, everybody.